Hello everyone. I have more example of a while loop for you. We are still working on chapter 4. Okay, so these are kind of more complex while loop. Okay, so in this example, we want to calculate the average of some values that user will enter. Okay, so to find the average, what do we need? First of all, we need values like more than 2, right? 2 or more, right? 2 or more values. And then we need to know how many values has been entered and given as an input, right? We need to know total or summation of those values as well. So we need to start with total, for example, and we need to know the count means the number of values entered. This one is going to be the total value of all the values entered, right? And for now, these two are going to be the initial values we are going to initialize, and we are going to ask the user for input value. So we use input, and then we are going to ask user to enter a value, right? And then we know that this is going to be a string. This is a string, and we must convert this to floating number, because to find the average or summation of values, that's better to have the decimal numbers as well, unless you don't want. Okay, so we are going to start with a while loop, and we are going to say if this value that has been entered is not empty, the value that has been entered is not empty. Actually, while the value is not empty, continue doing this. Now we are going to get the value, and what is the value? It's going to be the float of the string. Convert it to float, right? And then what we are going to do, we are going to, I want this to be indented. Okay. We are going to now calculate the total, which is the total plus value. So what we are doing, updating the total amount of values. I think this one has some yeah, now it's correct. As long as it was red means there's a problem with indenting probably. Okay, so we calculated total now under this loop. Now we need to count, increment the count. Why? Because there is a amount or value has been entered here, right? So the count was 0. Now it's going to increment 1, right? Incrementing the count, right? And then what's going on here now? So we are done with what we wanted to do, and now we should ask for another value, correct? So when we get the values, total values, now we are going to say what we are going to do here. The when the while loop ends, how it ends? By entering empty, right? By entering empty, it ends, right? Whenever it ends, we must calculate the average, right? How do we calculate the average? We will say, okay, if the number of count is greater than 0, means if we have any value entered as an input, now let's calculate average. And then we know average is total divided by the number of values we have. Calculating the average as long as we have values. And the else condition says otherwise the average is going to be 0, right? Now we are going to print the total amount or summation of values, right? And then we are going to print the average, right? So let's do this. It's going to ask for a value 2, 1, 5, 6, 7, and all the numbers, -1, -4. Okay, so enter. It calculated the total summation to be 99 and the average be 7.6. I want to try one thing now. I want to enter 2. So this is the first number, right? And then I don't want to enter anything. So if just the value 2 is being entered, it's going to say total is 2 divided by 1, so the average is 2. Okay, that's fine. We could also create another condition and say if count is greater than 0 and count is actually greater than equal to 2, right? Instead of 0. So because to find the average, we should at least have 2 values. 2, then it's going to, it must give us 0. The total is 2, the average is 0. Now it works. Okay, 3, 4, and now the average is this. Okay, so we can write a title, finding the total and the values, and then we can add positive or negative. Okay, good. So this is one of the question. The next question. Now, the next question is more difficult. So what we are going to do in this next question, we are going to evaluate. I don't know if it is correct or not. I'm going to check this. Okay, it's correct. Evaluate the summation of digits in a number. So let's say our number n is equal to 1321, right? Okay. So now we are going to say while n is greater than 0. So what we want to do, we want to add 1 to 3 to 2 and to 1 to see what is the total value. In the following example, we are looking for 1 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, right? All the digits of 1321. Why? N is positive, so it's a number greater than 0. Digit is equal to n remainder 10. So what is this? Remainder. So what is remainder? Let's see. Capital N. So let's say n is equal to 1321. What is n remainder? Where is remainder? Remainder 10. So this one is the remainder. So let's run this. 1. What is that? This is the last value of this digit, right? If it was 0, the remainder of this value divided by 10 is 0. If this 5, let's see what happens. 5. If this 3, 3. This 8, 8, right? So this is a remainder. Remainder of 1321 divided by 10. Now we want to print this digit. I want to see what is the remainder, just to show you. We can remove all of them after that. So I'm going to print this with one in a new line, right? And then I'm going to calculate the total now. So total of what? Total of the digits, right? 1 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. So do you remember, if I'm going to calculate a total and creating a new variable like total, I must initialize it, right? So now I'm going to say total plus digits. At each time we are going to get this digit, and means the last digit here, and add it to the previous summation. So because it's an initial loop, it's going to say total is 0, so the total now becomes 8. Oh, sorry, not 8. 1, because 0 plus 1 is becoming 1. updating the total digits. Okay. Now I'm going to print total also, just to check to see what's going on in the loop, because we cannot see unless we run a debugging or print them out. So now the total is going to be printed. What I'm going to do, I'm going to update n by saying n the floor division, So what it does, it rounds the results down to the nearest whole number. So what this means, if I calculate n divided by 10, I will have 132, means it keeps just the last 3 digits. So the first step, we calculated this one, we got this one, we are going to get rid of this and then just work on the last 3 digits, right? Here we get the floor. Then I'm going to print the value of updated value of n. New n, right? And then we are done. Whenever we are done, we are going to print total, because at each loop it's going to get the last digit, add it to the previous one, and then get the last digit, add it to the summation of previous digits, right? So let's see what we have here. If we run this, okay, so 1321. Remainder of this number by 10 is 1. 1 is the last digit, right? And then total becomes 1 because we are going to add 1 to the 0 and then updating the total, and total is 1 now. Then we are going to update the n value. The new value of n is going to be just 3 digits number. We got rid of the last number on the right side, and now we start all over again with 132. Then we say 132 divided by 10 is 2, because the last digit of 132 is 2, right? And then we are going to get this 2, add it to the total. What was the total previously? It was 1, right here. Add it to the 1, and then now total is becoming 3. And then what we do, we are going to update our n. So it was 132, we got rid of 2 at the end on the right side, 13 remains. Then we start the loop, right? 13 divided by 10, the remainder will be 3, and digit will be 3, and then 3 is going to be added to the previous total. The previous total was 3. 3 and 3, now the total is 6, right? And then the new n is becoming 1, because we are getting rid of 3 in 13, right? And then again, all over again, 1 divided by 10, the remainder is 1, the digit is 1, right? Adding to the previous total, and then we have 7, and then the new n is going to get rid of all the digits, right? Then the total is going to be printed in this way. Final total digit is this one. So now I'm going to remove this, I'm going to remove this, I'm going to remove this, but I'm going to add something here. Print next loop, and then I'm going to have print this in a next line. Look what happens now. It's going to show me what happens in the first loop, what happens in the next loop, what happens in the another loop, and the other loop, and at the end. So this was kind of more complex while loop. You will have a project similar to this one too. Okay, so for participation point for this time, we have a question here. Let's say participation. Let's say n is equal to 1796. Then count is 0. Then I'm creating a while loop. N greater than 0 digit is equal to n remainder of 10 if digit is equal 6 or digit is equal 7, then count is going to be incremented by 1. Then we come out of if loop, we say n is equal to n, the floor division of n divided by 10, and then we are going to print count. Okay, so the question is that what this loop is doing. So, or in another word, what is the aim of this while loop? So like here, what was the aim? The aim was adding all the digits of these numbers, right? This number. So I wanted to find the summation of all the digits in a number. So this loop had this aim. But now you should tell me what is the aim of this loop and what is the output of this loop as well. There's more question actually. What is the aim of this loop? Or what this loop is doing, right? Or what this loop is doing. So this is the first question. 2, I want to know what is the output of this loop. 3, I want you to comment each of these lines for me. Like for example here, you should comment this like the way I do. Write down what this line is doing, right? And then what this line is doing, what this line is doing. Comment each single line here. Even for these two, comment the line and say what is this count for, what is this number for, why the count is 0 right now. So I want you to write down everything completely the way I explain always. Okay, so this is the while loop, and next time we are going to work on the for loop. Please let me know if you have any question. Take care of yourself. We'll see you.